pivots, we take the accountability, we take all these things and we make sense of them so that we can go out and do God's work. And so she flew in from New York to be with you today. She's a powerhouse with multiple books. She's a best-selling author, and she is excited to be here to pour into you today. Please put your hands together for Jennifer Ford Berry. Women in the South know how to dress. I mean, like, I said to my girlfriend Jennifer, I was like, everybody looks like a model here. Keep my stuff together. All right, so this is really funny because I'm going to give you the backstory in a minute about me and just send a little deeper than that, where God really gets involved because he knows what I need more than I do. And ever since I met her, I felt like she's my sister from another mister. And then Sarah gets up here and says 3 Ps, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna say 3 Ps too. So God is just tying this all together today. How many of you believe anything is possible? Okay. Humanly speaking, it is impossible, but with God, everything is possible. And I am standing here today because I wholeheartedly believe everything is possible. And because of that, it's literally one tiny baby step filled with courage to get here today on the stage. I'm not here by accident. I'm here for a purpose, on purpose, and so are each and every one of you. I've been to conferences like this. I've seen crazy things happen. And actually, a conference in Toronto was what got me into ministry. So just a quick backstory, I started becoming a professional organizer when I lived in a little town down the road called Belmont. Actually, my daughter was born in Gaston County, and she's now turning 18, so you can pray for me, right? Pray for my soul. It's not easy, but I was pregnant with her when 9/11 happened, and I got laid off from my job at Clear Channel Radio. And I thought it would be cool to be a stay-at-home mom, get unemployment because I was laid off, and I was like, I can't get better than this. And about 2 months into it, I just realized that I'm really not a stay-at-home mom type of girl, and I own that. It's okay. I think that people that do it are amazing, but it just wasn't me. I needed to do more. But I didn't want to go back to corporate America because now I'm a new mom and I just can't imagine working 9 to 5 and somebody telling me when I can and cannot take off. So I'm reading this book called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And the author keeps saying, what are you passionate about? And I had a lot of things, honestly, but the one thing that kept sticking out into my mind was organizing. And when I was really honest with myself, I realized that I loved organizing since I was 5 years old. So sometimes when we're getting to that purpose word in a minute, it starts so early, but you don't see it when it's happening. And so then what did I do? I tried to talk myself out of my purpose and out of my passion because I didn't know anybody else doing it. I literally did not know another professional organizer. The only one I ever heard of was a guy named Peter Walsh that was on the Oprah show at that time. Anybody remember him? Yeah. So, and I'm like, well, I'm not Australian, I'm not on Oprah, and I haven't written any books, I'm not that famous, right? So I kept coming up with all these excuses. And finally, God just got, tapping. And I decided, I love organizing, and honestly, I'm pretty good at it. I was organizing my grandmother's jewelry when I was like a little girl every weekend and thought that was fun. I organized my room, my parents didn't tell me to do it, I rearranged it, cleaned it all the time. And so I decided to take a leap of faith and go for it. And I just started right when I was living in North Carolina, organizing people's closets from Clear Channel, friends, and I realized I loved it. So what happened is, because I now have this daughter, I decided it's a good idea, after living in South Florida and in Charlotte, to go back to New York. We're rethinking that recently. So So we go back because I want to be near family, right? And I want to raise my daughter and my other, eventually another child around my family. And so I get up to New York and everybody's like, what is a professional organizer? And I'm like, I do closets, pantries, but it just wasn't there yet. So I took some detours. I did not give up on my dream. I opened a children's consignment shop, and when I didn't have a customer in my store, I had been working on my first book. And I also, on top of this, because I know a lot of you out there are like, oh, I have a book I want to write. How many of you really want? Let's just be real. How many of you want to write a book? So people ask me all the time, well, I really want to write a book, what should I do? And I'm like, start writing. Yeah. Just start writing, right? And you're going to edit it so many times, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But so I have the store, I have a baby, because now I have my son, I have my grandmother, the one that is my biggest cheerleader with organizing, in the store, taking care of my baby when there's a customer, and when he's sleeping and nobody's in my store, I wrote my first book. And when that book came out, I actually, I had a publisher, and so I decided to sell the store. And I started going on this organizing journey, and I haven't quit yet. It's been 18 years. I've written 5 books, and I am in homes all the time where it looks perfect on the outside. They have the cars, they have the beautiful house, they have the perfectly manicured yard. And when they open the door, almost every single person tells me the same word, Jennifer, I feel so overwhelmed. So overwhelmed. And that makes me sad because I'm pulling up thinking, this person's living the dream. So I want them to be happy. If you're going to have all this stuff in the house and you're going to spend your time and your money and your energy to get it, it should bring you some joy and happiness, right? So I'm doing that years and years and years, and all of a sudden, God intervenes and starts to tell me that I went to a conference just like this up in Toronto. And long story short, when I left, 2 main people that were there changed my life. Terry Seville Foy and Cynthia Brazelton. And what was going on is here I was a fan of Terry, reading her books, listening to her podcasts. I'm a podcast junkie. I have my own if anyone wants to listen to it. Jacinda was on it last week. It's a 29-minute mom. She was so great. So they were talking to me, and when I left, I thought, could I do ministry? It was kind of like that knocking on the door that God did when I wanted to go into organizing. I tried to talk myself out of it. Well, you didn't go to seminary, half your family, you don't even know if they believe, totally not a preacher, all these things. And so what happened is, one day I was listening to a podcast with Cynthia Brazelton, and she said the power of decision, that if you make a decision, you will then, God will take care of the rest, but you have to decide. And I'm putting makeup on in the bathroom, listening to my podcast, and I go, all right, we'll see if this works. God, I'm saying yes. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm saying yes today. I'm going to use my platform for ministry. And what happened is, I literally emailed my attorney that day and said, have you ever started a nonprofit? And he said, absolutely, call me. I called him, and he said, after about 5 minutes, he goes, Jennifer, I'm going to do all the paperwork and start your 501c3 for free. And I said, why? And he goes, because every single day I wake up and I say, God, send me somebody to help. So that's why he decided to help me. So because of that, it all started to fall into place. God spoke this, I was in the middle of a book, writing a book, and God said, no, you're going to write this book called Purpose Over Possessions. And your purpose, sometimes our purpose, first of all, it sneaks up on you. You don't know when it's coming. I did not know I was going to get laid off from my job, after 9/11. I didn't know I was going to go into organizing, but my purpose turned into my calling. And because I believe anything is possible, I found my purpose, and it led me to my calling. And so when I say calling, I mean the fact that now I have gotten to a point where I have the courage, really, to just put Jesus into every single thing I do. There was so many times when I was speaking to audiences and I could never say Jesus in the speech because it was the wrong audience or corporation. And it really started with my kids' school. They asked, I was a alumni of the school, and they asked me to come speak, and they said, we want you to get up there and talk about how you became successful, 5 reasons. And I said, well, I'm gonna talk about God. There's no way I'm gonna get up there and say, I'm here today, and not say it was because of God. And they literally said, okay, do it. Well, when I did it, I could not believe how many people texted me that day and said, I can't believe you said that, and good for you. And I thought, why am I being quiet about this? You know, why am I being quiet about this? And all I have to do is be bold for Him, and it will work out. And you know what? The funny thing is when I was thinking about what to say here today, and Jacinda and I, we've been praying about it, this is the coolest thing about the name of your conference. It is our uniqueness that makes us qualified. It's your story. It's that specific set of skills and gifts that God put in you when you were in your mother's womb. He had a plan and purpose for you before you ever came to this earth. And the crazy thing about it is that just the way you were made makes makes you qualified for your purpose. So I had to really embrace that for myself. Because what do we do when we decide okay, I have my purpose, I'm gonna be a professional organizer? I call Peter Walsh. That's what I do. Because I wanna know what Peter did. And guess what? Peter says, yeah, let's have a phone. Let's get on the phone. People will totally help you when they can. And then when I decided I wanted to get into ministry, I remember thinking, well, Sarah Jakes Roberts has transformed my entire life. She doesn't know who I am, but I listen to her every single week. And I listen to her preach and I think, man, I wish that someday I could preach like that. Well, if I get up here and I start talking about Sarah Jakes Roberts, that would just be weird. That would just be weird. I have to be me. And so I decided, because I'm unique, I'll go with that. And you can take it or leave it. But wasting my time trying to be like somebody on Instagram or Pinterest or all these different places we look when we decide what we're going to do is a waste of my time. Right? So I decide I'm going to use my platform for ministry. All these things start falling into place. And I realized that, it's so funny because all this organizing work I've done, it really is a God thing when you think about it. It's written in the Bible. And so for my new book, I decided to go to the Bible and see what He says about clutter and getting organized, and it's all there. This is nothing new. We're just not listening. Our society is just so consumed with information right now that you're seeing these perfect houses, you're seeing HGTV, you're seeing hoarders, you're seeing, there's just so much. It wasn't there when I started. But what that does is it makes us get into this comparison game. And we think everybody else has it figured out. And guess what? Nobody has it figured out. Nobody has it figured out. Even like when you were talking about writing your book. People think because you write so many books, you have it figured out. Still trying to figure it out. I just squeeze in writing in between running to my kids' games and working with clients. It just happens. And so I find that women now are more overwhelmed than ever because of the comparison game, and it's not helping us. And the thing about it is, I really want you guys to hear this today. Your stuff can be used to distract you from your purpose. Okay? So basically, God says to me, you're going to use this platform now to point them back to me. Because society is pointing them to stuff. Okay? And so the thing is that every single thing that you bring into your home or you bring into your life costs some STEM. So remember this: space, time, energy, money. STEM. It is amazing. Anything you can think of, from putting a pool in the backyard to buying more shoes to even a person in your life, it is going to cost you some amount of STEM. And Satan can use that clutter to distract you from what you're supposed to be doing. It's amazing. How many times have you woken up in the morning and you're like, or the night before, I'm gonna set my alarm early, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna have coffee, and I'm sitting with Jesus, and I'm gonna do my devotional, I'm gonna read the Bible, and it is happening tomorrow. I'm gonna be that girl, right? And you wake up, and you're like waiting for the coffee, and the coffee is getting made, and all of a sudden you see all these dirty dishes in the sink from the night before. So you're like, well, I'm multitasking, man. I'm going to wash these dishes while the coffee is brewing, and then I'm right to the Bible. And then you get your cup of coffee, and there's a ding on your phone, and you quick text. Hang on one second, real quick. I'm gonna text this person back, and you know what would be a really good idea if the wash got started while I was doing my devotional? So let me just grab the wash, put that in, and go on with my day. Satan will use clutter every single time to distract you. I'm gonna wrap up, I swear. I could talk all day, but I'm gonna wrap up. So the thing about it is, I want you guys to go home this week, and I want you to look around your house, and I want you to say, is some of this stuff taking up too much space, time, energy, and money from my life? And it's not bringing me joy. So there's things that will bring you joy, and there's things that won't. And start to get super, super, super intentional about the stuff in your life. Because when you clear it away, you free up space, time, energy, and money for your God-given purpose. And that's where the true joy comes in. Joy doesn't come from too many shoes. You won't be remembered for your wardrobe. You will be remembered for the purpose and the things that you've done for others while you're here on earth.